Hey, everybody. This is Joshua Littrell with the Veterans for Cannabis podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm extremely excited about our interview with Mr. James Dalman. He is a consultant who helps brands grow and thrive. And, he's the founder and CEO of Happy Joe, which is a military lifestyle brand. And we're going to get into that today. James, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, I appreciate it, Josh. Thanks for so much for having me on the air, man. It's great to be here and an honor to be visiting with you.
Oh, I think the honor's all mine. There's no doubt about it. If you don't mind, give our listeners a sense of where you're at in this country right now.
Oh man, I'm all over the place, but I hail from Oklahoma City, smack dab in the middle of the United States, and my probably hick voice will give that off just a little bit. I'm not a redneck, but I do have that distinct Southern kind of drawl. So just living it up here in Oklahoma and doing some great things for the veteran and military community, and just love hanging out with people like yourself to talk shop.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, is to really connect this community. Whether it's cannabis, whether it's growing legumes, doesn't matter to us. If it's veterans talking to each other and we're trying to lift our community up, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we could gather more and more people who like to lift each other up as opposed to tearing each other down. There's definitely some of that going on in our community, and would love to see that go away and see us all, helping our brothers and sisters in a way that's truly meaningful and changes the story.
That's so true, James. You know what? Let's just jump right into it and get into it. Tell us a little bit about Happy Joe, and then we'll talk about what's going on in the industry, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Well, that's a great question. Happy Joe has changed and pivoted over the years. In 2014, we launched as a nonprofit organization, and our whole goal was to battle the unemployment rates plaguing the nation with our military community. We taught everyone how to do web tech, WordPress, web design, branding, those kind of services. But through that, we started finding out that there's a lot of veterans who had great skills, but they couldn't get to work. So we transitioned to more of a freelance marketplace, which was wildly successful. And then through those conversations, I started finding out that, God, there's so many people in our military community that are having wellness issues. So, whether it's from our time in the service, PTSD, TBI, anxiety, depression, whatever, or maybe something that happened afterwards, that there was just a lot of people in the military community who, weren't right in the head, right in the heart. And I started kind of figuring out that if we can't get ourselves together, so to speak, then it's going to be hard for us to be good family people. It's going to be hard for us to have a great career or job, whatever that is. So we eventually made the pivot to where we're at now with CBD and cannabis, because we firmly believe that if we can address these mental issues going on, if we can help people feel healthier and happier, then everything trickles down from there. And it's been an amazing journey. I only wish that we would have jumped in it about 4 years ago when a few friends of ours was telling us to get into this. I'm like, no, I don't want to get into this illegal stuff. No way in hell I'm going to go down that road.
Yeah.
Having been a previous cannabis user, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to get people addicted to drugs. But then I started doing all this research on how cannabis affects people. I'm like, man, this is amazing. So started using myself, CBD and cannabis, and it changed my life, which just further cemented the mission is, start using these products to help benefit the military community and see if we can, change some lives.
Well, there's no doubt about that, and you have changed lives. And I really wish we had met 4 years ago, because when we launched Veterans for Cannabis, that was before, I'm doing my air quotes now, CBD was sexy, and that's a real frustrating thing. But you know what? We're gonna partner together. We're gonna move forward, and we're gonna lift this community up. Because what you just said earlier is what this is all about. If we can't improve our heart and our mind, we can't get better, right? So how does CBD help people improve their heart and mind, and industrial hemp-based products help them in this process?
Yeah, that's excellent. So, for me, the cannabinoids in whether it's CBD or THC, obviously, I don't want to get all the scientific stuff about it because I'll sound like an idiot. I'm just like, I can't pronounce all those big words. But, really what it does is it restores balance in our bodies. And I think that's really what the problem is. For myself, for example, high anxiety, PTSD, nervousness. Sometimes, to be honest with you, there's been times I've looked at that pistol and I'm like, today is going to be the day. I can't take this shit no more. Right. And, I think a lot of it comes from just, our body being out of balance, not only things that we've experienced or maybe we've seen, but our body gets a chemical imbalance. And I think the CBD from at least in my own experience and some of the anecdotal evidence and some of the research shows that it restores homeostasis in our body. And that's why, I'm so floored about it. And, you're right about, all of a sudden CBD being sexy. There's a downside to this, is that, CBD and cannabis have such a great healing property. But at the same time, it's also kind of going overboard. Now you can get CBD eyeliner and pillows and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, this is getting, ridiculous. So, it's like different fads that have happened in the past in our country, but, I don't think CBD or cannabis is a fad. I think there's a lot of value to it, but I think the way we approach it is going to be the way that changes everything for us going forward.
I think you're right on point with that. And I think that fad is absolutely on point. And what we'll see, in my opinion, is going to be that kind of baseball card model, if you will, where baseball cards were huge in the 80s and 90s. There were, everybody was investing in them. You had thousands of cards in your attic. They were going to, increase in value. And then lo and behold, guess what? They're all worthless now. And I think that's the same thing kind of trajectory wise that we're going to follow in this. I'm doing my air quotes again, CBD industry, because we're not talking about that homeostasis that you're talking about. And that homeostasis coming from all the other cannabinoids and true whole plant products, and really focusing on wellness instead of just branding and who can put it out there in the most abundant form possible and all that trash. So I think you're right on point with that. And I want to see us be that sticking point in the veteran community who continues to push this and lift this industry up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on something. One, I'm kind of sad because, I put all my faith and money into my old basketball and baseball cards. I thought that was going to be my payoff. So,
Yes, sir.
I'm a little sad about that. But you said something about wellness. And one of the things that I thought about when you were asking that previous question was, I try to tell people all the time, like, cannabis or CBD is only one part to wellness. I think so many times we're looking for this magic pill to cure everything. Well, in my own journey and people I've talked with, you have to have, all kinds of aspects of your life in tune. So, nutrition is a part of it, exercise, hobbies, passion, purpose, community. And I feel like in the military community and outside the military community, so often we forget those things. We're looking for that quick fix, and this is not what it's about. So for me, we started, my wife and I started eating keto about 8 weeks ago, because I'm like, okay, I'm feeling healthy again. I just feel disgusting. And I've lost 25 pounds, and I'm starting to feel amazing. Like, I'm starting to get cut again, which I'm like, hey, I got tone. I didn't know that was there, but it just changes my perspective. And as a part of that, for a guy, I love craft beer and tequila. And that was one of my ways that would help medicate, to help me find happiness, or, whatever, to battle through the day. And ever since I started down this journey, I really don't crave alcohol all that much anymore. I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. I don't need it. Go push some weights instead. And so I think, the exercise, having a community of people, which I know that we've talked about that between the both of us. There's so many people in the military community who say camaraderie is important, but we kind of sit on our islands and hope that someone's going to contact us. But sometimes we got to reach out. We got to build that community. We got to invest in each other. And sometimes, it sucks. We're going to get fragged, by one of our buddies or someone we know. And that's just part of it. But we can't stop letting people in our lives. We have to keep pushing and finding the right people to hang out with, so it lifts us up and it benefits all of us in such a greater way.
Wow, I think what you just said is so key for all our listeners to understand too. And guys, we're joined with James Dalman today, who is an Army veteran. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but that real key is to keep pushing forward. Keep opening up. We're going to have those bad experiences, and don't let one bad experience ruin you. Just like I tell the young people that I come in contact with who are going to join the military or just fresh in the military. And my wife being active duty, I see these young airmen all the time, and I always tell them, look, your one duty station. Don't let one bad experience ruin that. And that's exactly what we've got to make sure we carry forward in our community, in the veteran community. Don't let one of our brothers and sisters, ruin the experience for all the others that you're going to have, and all the others you're going to come in contact with that you can help out and we can improve each other with. So that's a huge point to hit on, and thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that's a tough battle, because, to be honest with you, I've been crapped on by quite a few people in the military community. And there's been a point where, with Happy Joe, I'm like, I'm ready to give up. I'm tired of this entitlement theory and just the different stuff that goes on sometimes in the community. But then I find these great people. I'm like, okay, I can't stop now. So my wife kind of came up with a quote a long time ago, and it was related to other stuff. And she said something to the effect like, just because you go to a restaurant that's bad and serves up a crappy meal doesn't mean you stop going to restaurants, do you? And I was like, no. And she goes, the same thing with what we were talking about. So, that's where us as veterans and military spouses, people in the military community, service members need to realize is no matter what community you're in, there's going to be some bad people, there's going to be in between people, and there's going to be great people. And we just got to keep pressing forward, driving on to find, the group that resonates with us and isn't going to stab us in the back.
Well, that's so true. And that goes right back to our military service. So tell our listeners a little bit about your service and your background. You're an Army guy, right?
Yeah, Army through and through. The 11 Bravo Infantry, and there's not much to say there. I did take some wounds on Sand Hill at Fort Benning. I did get eaten up by about 1,000 fire ants, and that
Oh
was
my gosh.
I have to say, I set up the perfect ambush. It was amazing. I lit up a whole platoon of people, but didn't realize I was laying in an anthill, and I started freaking out, and everyone's like,
Oh my
what the hell's
goodness.
going on? And yeah, so my hand was swollen for about 3 months. I camouflaged myself with poison ivy once, which was an experience. And,
Holy
I
cow.
broke a few ribs here and there trying to do some crazy stuff. But, I did guard some cows in Minko, Oklahoma at one time and kept them from mad cow disease. So, man, I was living high speed for an infantryman. But honestly, people ask me about that, and I love that I served in the military. I was only, Oklahoma National Guard and then the U.S. Army Reserve. I never got deployed anywhere, and I still to this day am filled with regrets. And it's kind of one of those things like people are like, why the hell are you upset? You didn't go anywhere. You have to go to Iraq. You have to go to Afghanistan. I'm like, but I trained for that. That's
That's
what
right.
I wanted to do ever since I was a kid. I watched all the Rambo movies. I had a mercenary manual at the age of 10, Soldier of Fortune magazine. I mean, I knew the stuff through and through, and I feel bad that I didn't get to go serve overseas or do something bigger with my brothers and sisters, who had to endure all that stuff. And to this day, it's one of those regrets. Sometimes, I don't even want to call myself a veteran because I'm like, I didn't do anything special. I mean, I did what I had to do. I did get in some trouble, but I got my honorable discharge. But I've had a lot of great people in the military community say, look, you signed up, you did what you need to do. You fulfilled your obligation, and so be happy with that. But that, be honest, that's just been one of those sticking points. I don't really have to talk about my military service because I feel like there's people who did so much more, which is, why I continue to be passionate and serve through Happy Joe. It's like, okay, this is my way to quote unquote be deployed and help our brothers and sisters.
Well, I'm a firm believer that any service, you did your commitment, you served your country, you're a veteran, any way you look at it. So I don't think you ever have to apologize for that. And, you and I have talked offline, outside the podcast, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And our listeners are going to start understanding that and appreciating it too. But on top of that too, James, a lot of our community doesn't deploy. They don't get that opportunity. And I know I mentioned my wife earlier, but she's been in 20 years, never deployed to a war zone. I served 6 years and was in the middle of a war. So it just differs, and it differs from career to career, from service to service, and some of those get lucky, some of them don't. And when I say lucky, it's you and I are on the same page. We both wanted to serve. We both wanted to go to war. There are a lot of men and women who join that don't want to go to war. They want to get their benefits to go to school or whatever it may be, job training, ODT, which is great. Look, I'm not knocking that at all. Join for your own reasons. Don't join for somebody else, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of us who want to go to war don't get that chance. And then on top of that, the worst part is those that are getting deployed 3, 4, 5, 12, 15 times now. Come on. This is ridiculous. Spread the love.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I want to stop there. There's kind of a difference because my goal is never to go to war. Having grown up with grandparents and a mother, and her siblings grew up in World War II in Nazi occupied Netherlands. I heard the stories of war. I heard of what the SS did to their people, and
Wow.
them being bombed every day, and the guns pointed at their head, and kids being skinned alive and hung from telephone poles. So it was one of those things like I never was like bloodthirsty to go to war, but it was more that I want to protect our people. I want to feel like I did something that mattered, that I protected people from these atrocities and horrors going on. And so, it was a little bit different perspective. And I think one of the things, dovetailing into kind of the idea that, you know, there's a lot of us who wish we could have went. There's a lot who went. It's like, man, I wish I